So you're interested in making a full body LPS custom, I'm guessing if you click this video. I think full body customs are great. I think they're one of the most unique things you can do with LPS customizing, and if you've been doing LPS customizing for a while, I would totally recommend you try it. I have made a few full body LPS customs before, like a dragon, and of course Muffin Top, everybody knows about him. I think they all kind of turned out pretty unique looking, interesting. I'm not the best with anatomy, but you know, you can tell what they are at least. So today I'm just going to show you my process, what you need to do to make your own. So this is kind of like a step-by-step tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how I made this beast custom for my new series, and yeah, let's just get started. No more yammering, let's go. So I would first design what you're going to be making before you actually make it, especially since a full body LPS custom takes kind of a lot of planning. If you're going to go through all the effort of making such a big project, you should really plan beforehand. So here is my sketch for my custom I'm going to be making, the beast. I decided to go with a Great Dane base simply just because the Great Dane base head is pretty narrow, so it gave me a lot of working room. But what's really nice about full body customs, even if you don't cover the face like I am with this one with a mask, is you can just kind of focus on the eye shape. For example, if you're gonna make Trico from The Last Guardian or something, which is a project I really want to do, I would probably use a monkey base because their eyes are very wide and open, kind of like his are. So you can really use almost anything, which is great. You can turn an unpopular base that normally you wouldn't really use for anything into something really cool. So once you have your base, depending on what type of full body custom you're making, I would cut off all the ears and even maybe the muzzle depending. This is kind of assuming you're making a creature custom. If you're just trying to make, say, like Ragnar with his extended legs just taller and stuff, but you just want to make like a custom, you know, it's just kind of different for everybody. Whatever your design is, you just kind of have to go with it. For this particular custom, I am covering everything on the head, so it doesn't really matter. I just cut off everything I could that sticks out. I want everything to stay even as possible. And then I go ahead and cut off the legs too, because those are going to be resculpted, and get that as clean as possible so you kind of just have like this decapitated LPS body attached to a very horrific LPS head. And that's how you know you're doing it right. So this is the next step where you want to start creating the armature for the legs and, in my case, the tail. To get the wire in the LPS body, this is just my trick. I don't really know how other people do it, but I like to heat up the wire over a candle using a pair of pliers. I just kind of wait till the wire gets kind of reddish, and then I just stick it through. It normally takes like 2 times to get it the whole way through, but it works really well for me, and it's a great way to just get started off this base. It's super stable, and you can just bend down the legs as much as you want and cut off wherever tallness you desire. Again, full body customs are kind of really creative. You can make anything you want. You can make a long body with 6 legs or whatever. Seriously, like full body customs, no limit. It's just your imagination. You can make whatever you want. So here's kind of like the base of my legs. And now I'm just going to add the tail on. My beast custom has a long narrow tail with kind of fluff at the end of it, so it's really important to get this wire in. Not only because it's like a great armature to build off of, but it's also just make sure it doesn't break, because normally that would definitely break if it was just clay. And now that you got your armature and everything set up, it's time for a whole lot of sculpting. This is where you get creative again. So just look off your picture and just start sculpting. Honestly, I'm not the best at creating proportions on these things. I don't really know a lot about animal anatomy. I'm not really good with the skeletal figure. It's kind of hard to understand, but even when the anatomy is not correct, I still think these turn out really cool, so just kind of go with your skill level and just see what you can make. I think what's really helpful with this whole process is getting kind of a very thin tool like the one I have. This is the only tool I use for sculpting. If you don't have this type of tool, that's okay. You can just use something like a toothpick or any other pointy type of thing, not a knife. Okay, be careful. Thank you. And yeah, just look off your reference and start sculpting. I would honestly recommend, if you've never made a full body custom and you have no idea, like you don't have a design in mind or you don't know what to make, Just make like a Disney character or something, like Toothless. I made Toothless before. He was one of my first full body customs. Obviously you can see it's kind of rough, rough around the edges, but you know, it's just a learning process. You're not gonna get it right the first time unless you're a literal god. My full body LPS custom is kind of interesting and different from any of the other ones I made because I cover the entire face. The creature I want kind of has like a mask-like face, so his whole face is basically flat. I had no idea how this was going to turn out when I was making it. I was just kind of going with it, and yeah, just a learning process really. If you guys are wondering what clay to use, I use polymer clay, but you guys do not have to use this type of clay because you have to bake it, and I honestly wouldn't recommend it just because it's kind of difficult to use. You really have to know the clay. I've been using this clay for a long time, so I kind of understand it well enough. Obviously you can try it yourself if you want to, but I would recommend Kneadetite or more likely epoxy Sculpt because it's a lot cheaper and you get a lot more for it. And it dries as hard as a rock. I sculpted Atlas completely with epoxy Sculpt. He looks amazing, so yeah, I barely even added armatures, like all his side pieces. No armatures. Basically just the tail was the only armature. So that clay is just amazingly strong. I would definitely recommend it. I think the trickiest part when I was sculpting my full body custom was the lion mane, because when I designed this custom, I wanted him to kind of have a big fluffy hair type thing, but yeah, obviously LPS customs have bobbleheads, so I kind of wanted to keep the bobble so I could move his head while I was filming with him, but I also wanted to give the illusion that he has a mane. So I just decided to cover the entire head completely with hair. So if you guys have ever read Where the Wild Things Are as a child, that's what this reminds me of so much. Just kind of like this circular head shape with all the fluff. So again, just sculpting. I don't really know how to explain this. You kind of just have to watch and learn, or practice a lot and learn that way. And also, depending on what you're making, it's going to be different, obviously. You're not making this exact design, so it's going to be very hard for you to kind of imitate this. There's kind of some things I can't really teach you, I can't really explain with words, you just kind of have to practice yourself. The one thing I would recommend is kind of sculpting things in passes. You don't have to sculpt the entire LPS custom in one day. That'll be very difficult. I would recommend you start with the legs and maybe some of the head and the tail just to kind of bulk it up, and then come back another day when that's all dry, and then you can just start kind of smoothing out, getting the general shape again. Like you can start adding like some of the details and let that dry again, and then you can start coming in with like the smaller details. You just kind of have to keep on building on top of the layers, on top of the layers, on top of the layers. So as you can probably tell, it's time consuming. These customs take a long time, that's why you don't really see them very often. It takes a lot of time and effort and skill with just being able to make a body shape. Anyway, you can just watch me sculpt. Hopefully it's helpful to just see my process, see what I'm doing, and kind of relaying it onto your custom. And after hours and hours of sculpting, here is the finished sculpted custom. Look at him, so smooth, so fluffy. I love sculpting fluff. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. I have a lot of different techniques for sculpting. Actually, Muffin Top was made completely out of hot glue, which I want to do like a hot glue sculpting tutorial, so if you guys are interested in that, make sure to comment. For this one, I wanted to make the hair very like defined and sculpted, so I used clay. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy with him. I think I could have done a little bit better on some of the leg proportions, but you know, I'm kind of in a rush to get this series out, so I'm okay with it. And it's time for the painting process. Now, I've done a lot of tutorials on how to paint your customs. I've done a tutorial on how to get smooth base coats. I'll just briefly explain it here if you don't want to go watch that. Basically what I do is I dry brush the entire LPS custom by just taking some white paint and then getting most of it off of on like a rag or something, and then just smoothing it out over the custom. This kind of allows you to get more layers onto the plastic without kind of clumping it later on, because paint doesn't really stick well to plastic. It'll kind of slide and mess up your custom. That's why it gets all clumpy and weird. But if you guys want like a more in-depth tutorial for that, I actually made one, so I would just go watch that if you're not kind of experienced in the painting department. Again, this is kind of a hard thing to describe if you're not making my exact custom, because mine is pretty much all black, just neutral colors. Depending on what you're making, that's probably gonna be completely different, and you just kind of go about painting it like you would a normal custom. And something I really like to do with my customs after I'm done completely painting them is actually going over again with another dry brush layer, but this time just making it like a little bit lighter color than the color is on it. I think this is really fun for creature customs especially. It kind of creates them like more texture on the custom. It brings out the texture, but it also just makes the custom look better in my opinion, just because it kind of creates a finishing touch and more contrast of course. This custom doesn't need any gloss just because it doesn't really have eyes. I mean, it does have eyes, but you know what I mean. So yeah, he's done. Bada bing bada boom. There's the full body custom. Hopefully this tutorial is useful to you. If you guys want me to make a tutorial on a specific full body, kind of like a TV character, just say whatever, Rayla and the last dragon. I haven't watched it yet, but I know there's a dragon in it. I could make that dragon, I don't really know. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have fun customizing, my friends and pals. I'll keep working hard on this new series, and yes, have a good day, my sweet children. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them below. I'll answer them for you. I am the almighty teacher, so I have all the answers. Come to me. Okay. Can I sound any more conceited? Have a good day, my children. I'll keep working hard. I'm gonna get this series out to you guys. It's a lot of work, but I am getting through it. Okay, have a good day. Yes, have a good day. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.